Social and Environmental Affairs Committee to order. Madam Clerk, please note that all three members are present and accounted for in person. And next I'll take a motion to approve our minutes.
Move. Second.
Awesome. Minutes have been approved. We will jump right in and go straight into presentations, unless you want to do food trucks first. Okay. Miss Mary Pratt will be giving us an update on the Bloomberg Youth Climate Action Fund, which we, I believe, got an overview of in October.
Yes.
All right. Ready for you.
This is our orientation session that we did back in August. And I learned two things at that orientation session. We have a great group of people, or a great group of young people doing stuff for us. And when you're as short as I am, you don't stand behind the podium. I had two Columbia College volleyball players by me. And I looked like an elf on the shelf. We all had a good laugh about that. Down is up. Just to give you kind of a dashboard look at things, we had 9 total groups selected. 3 were college groups and 6 were high school. Total funding awarded was $43,000. And the first reports were submitted October 31st. It was a trick or treat little surprise. And then our final reports are due December 31st. And this is just a review of the project, just to remind you. These were some that we talked about all of these when I was here in October. So just take a quick look, and if there's any you have questions about, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Save the Planet Ride a Bus. They sponsored the B106 holiday music. I don't know if y'all have heard, but I've heard 2 or 3 times a little Save the Bus promo, Save the Planet promo. And then the Storm Train Marketing did their event on Saturday. And I think they had about 100 people. So, we've had a few hiccups along the way, but all in all, things are going well. Y'all are invited. We're having a special Bloomberg showcase on the 14th in the City Hall lobby. And we're doing it from 2:30 to 4. It helps to catch some people coming into council. And everybody's gonna have a table and like a science fair type project set up. And we're ready to tell you about their project. So we would love for y'all to come down and just say hello. They're great kids. They're kids. They're not kids. I mean, the youngest one is 15. But they're great young people, and they're very inspiring. I feel very good about the future with them. So you can meet the passionate young change makers, learn about the projects face to face, and be inspired by their stories. And that's the 15th from 2:30 to 4:30. And then I'm not really good with drum rolls, but I'll have a drum roll.
Oh, that's awesome.
We have been awarded the second round of the funding for
Good.
$100,000.
Good.
Kate and I are really excited. We are really excited. We can double what we did with this round, with the next round. So the program will kick off in January, and details are coming. They're coming a little bit at a time, but they're coming. But we're ready to do some recruiting.
Mary Pat, this will be an opportunity for folks that weren't included in the first round to be a recipient, but also if there was success with the first grant, to do follow-on work as well. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, really good.
They can apply if they had one, if they didn't. And then we'll hopefully get some brand new applications.
Yeah.
But we're really excited because we can do a lot more than 100,000. We like Bloomberg.
Apparently they like us.
Yeah.
Good.
We did good. We did good. And Peyton, of course, has been wonderful to work with.
It's all Mary.
Thank
We've had a
you.
good time working together.
Good.
Very
That's all I have unless you have any questions.
Any questions?
I think the two biggest things, Dr. Bustle's the January 14th event, and we really wanted to announce this. It's pretty awesome, so. Thank you, Mary Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll move into a committee discussion around late night food trucks. This was actually brought to us by a existing food truck operator who suggested that, you know, there are not that many options for food on the weekends after 11 p.m. as most kitchens close. She's currently operating off of a private parking lot in 5 Points, but suggested that it would be worth maybe exploring having some kind of similar setup in our entertainment districts after 11, making sure we're not competing with the brick and mortar, but also, you know, considering all of the facets of doing something like this. So had asked ACM Shealy and the team to take a look, and looking forward to hearing what your findings and suggestions are.
Good afternoon to the members of the committee. My name is Kalina Ginyard. I'm the Program Compliance Specialist with the City of Columbia's Office of Business Opportunities, and I'm here in the absence of our Director, Ms. Aisha Driggers, who unfortunately couldn't be here today. Also joining me is Ms. Shantae Cooper. She is our Administrative Specialist, and she also coordinates our Food Truck Friday events for our office. So, as Dr. Bustle stated, that we will be discussing, I think this was a prior discussion that was had regarding food trucks at night. And, next slide, please. So some of the opportunities and challenges. Opportunities are to expand availability of food trucks and the opportunity for food trucks to increase their customer base. Challenges are vendors to designate well-lit areas for food truck setups, provide clear communication with staff to address any immediate concerns, and public safety, collaborate with CPD or Richland County to plan regular patrols and crowd management strategies. Next slide. Some potential locations for the evening events. The locations are first for the Vista District. This area could attract both residents and visitors during evening hours, and 5 Points. This area could attract college students and young professionals. Next slide, please. Options are to encourage food trucks to reach out to private property owners to set up locations, educate food trucks on the process to operate a food truck in the City of Columbia. Currently the city ordinance requires at least 400 feet from residentially zoned property. Food trucks would promote various locations through social media, and the need to discuss with business associations such as the Vista Guild, 5 Points, etc. Next slide. Oh, that's it. So that's the end of my our presentation. Does any questions from the committee?
Yeah, is it something, so current Food Truck Fridays is kind of city-led in the sense that we coordinate, you know, what vendors are when, correct? And we do some of the advertising. Am I interpreting it correctly that you're suggesting that we continue with them operating on private? Or is there a location that is possible that is city-owned that we could have 2 or 3 food trucks out on the weekend?
Well, my understanding, and forgive me, it is an option to possibly look at different areas.
Okay.
And one of the concerns, and from my understanding, one of the concerns was ensuring that the food trucks were not placed in areas near restaurants. And I think, Hope, if you want to add to that, there was some discussion about that, but there was also concern with ensuring that the food trucks were not near any restaurants, because that was one concern that, from my understanding.
And what's the time? What is the proposed time?
Well, the proposed time,
If you're saying at night, and if you do anything at night, it's certainly anywhere in that area, it's going to effectuate.
I don't think we asked them for proposed time. I think I just said after hour. So like currently, Bubblicious, they operate 11 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Are we talking?
They serve.
Are we talking? Wait a minute.
Waffles.
I'm not through yet. Excuse me. You're talking about a time that is consistent and support other businesses within that area?
but from my understanding, I
And
think
in order to do that, you need a place and a location that's not going to interfere with other businesses in that area.
that is correct. So from my understanding, it is, there was a concern with some of the business associations is that they didn't want the food trucks to be in areas where local restaurants are that could deter customers. So I think the discussion was mainly where could it be held on a private property where we could speak with someone and possibly allow us to use that area for a certain amount of time? I think that was one of the things that was being discussed.
Well, time is gonna be an issue.
Yes, and
Time is gonna be an issue because, excuse me for cutting you off, interrupting.
that's all right.
But it's important for me to understand what time are you talking about?
Well, I think,
Because if I'm looking at a food truck in a strategic area, in a specific area, why a food truck and not a dinner date with someone in that particular area?
I'll let ACM answer you.
And I think we're looking for some clarification because it was late night that we were asked about.
Yeah.
There's some concerns with that. There's already existing opportunities. They can go on private property, which somebody already is doing that. Right now, OBO mans the Food Truck Friday, so I want to talk a little bit about what that involves, because if we're going late night, we've got to decide if it's going to be in the right of way, is the expectation that the city mans that the way we do Food Truck Fridays or not. And then as we were talking with some of our management team, there's also the possibility of doing maybe dinner type crowds, setting up, as you travel other cities and high pedestrian areas, sometimes you have food trucks set up, complementary to bricks and mortar. We obviously don't want to deter from that, but where you're hospitality areas, that can be an attractive area. Right now, there's provisions for private property, so we've talked about, do we just better promote that and, reach out to the food truck industry and make sure they're aware of that. So we really need direction with the intent of coming back in January with more concrete information. But do you want to talk about what's involved in the coordination of Food Truck Fridays?
Real quick, Madam.
Yeah,
Chairwoman. One thing. So is the stakeholders or business district groups, is there issue with the food truck not paying a business license and then being able to have a food truck out and compete with a brick and mortar restaurant? Is that the big argument against it?
A lot of times it's the overhead that bricks and mortars incur. So right now you can't be, what's the distance requirement to brick and mortar? 100 feet from the front door of an existing restaurant. And that's just conversations many, many years ago. We'll call it the taco war conversation. There was a taco shop trying to set up a vendor across the street from an existing shop, and that was a really big outcry because of the overhead of a brick and mortar compared to a food truck. So we just wanted to balance
I
those.
remember I was in Austin some years ago on 7th Street, big street. You been there before?
Yeah.
And I left wherever I was and I walked up the hill and there was all these food trucks. They were just by themselves and they weren't around any restaurants. It was just a bunch of food trucks. My thoughts are, that's what we were trying to do with this. This probably predated me coming on council.
Yeah, that's why we ended up choosing Bull Street, because there wasn't a lot, like, we tried a bunch of different locations, but Bull Street, there are not a lot of brick and mortar restaurants there yet. We started with the morning lunchtime-ish with the goal that maybe one day it could be like Austin where you have this kind of after 5 crowd as well. So yeah, the goal was to like fill a gap of encouraging more pedestrian use, like, exploring districts that aren't explored at those times. And the goal originally was also, it was summertime. We started it in the summer. We wanted people to be able to, enjoy our downtown districts. But I mean, it sounds like, we start with working with 5 Points or working with the Vista and having them encourage, we are the keeper of an inventory of the food trucks that have participated with us. Why not take advantage of them in terms of, if you want to provide your patrons, if you turn into a drinking establishment, since we don't have bars in South Carolina, right? Like, then take advantage of all of these food truck business owners that we've cultivated a relationship with, instead of a more formal, and we can obviously help promote if they decide that, okay, on this weekend we'll have it. I think that might be an avenue to start with.
Okay.
Yeah.
There needs to be some extended conversation, because just to put a food truck in an area that is gonna take away business, my thinking is that it take away business from other strategic areas within that geographic area. The other part of that is, while I'm all for food trucks, there has to be a time. And if you say a time from this time to night, or night until, that needs to be some elongated conversation with CPD.
And they've been very engaged. I mean, this is a working group across the city that's been identifying some parameters or talking through some of the challenges. And that is one of the challenges of late night. If you do 11 to 2, again, somebody's got to help man it if it's city facilitated. But there's also the CPD aspect of that.
Oh, and of course, that becomes important. Because you never know what's gonna take place during a late night, 11 to 2, or 10 to whatever time. I don't know whether or not I'm sold on that whole idea. And some more, that's why I need some more conversation. I'm not sold on that whole idea about late night food trucks. While it's encouraging, while it's creative, it poses some real risk.
My grandmother used to say, what's open after what, that time?
At 12 o'clock.
Nothing good happens after midnight. That's what I was always
All
saying.
right, but also keep in mind, Tyler and I are probably the closest to college age. We were in college once. The kids are gonna go out regardless of what you think about what happens after midnight. And I'd rather there be controlled chaos than, a free-for-all or people not eating after they've been drinking. I want us to continue I agree with Rev, have some discussions, explore some options. Would love to hear directly from Heather and Abby. See if they even have businesses that are open to having food trucks on their property, and see if we can just be there helping them and market it type of arm, or being the source of information to get them connected to the food trucks that have worked with us in the past.
And I was thinking something probably like around 3 a.m. or so, because you can still get food at some places at 2 a.m. Maybe for like 11 to 3 or 4.
That's breakfast, man.
You can go to Waffle House 24/7.
You go to Waffle House or IHOP, but
You got a Waffle
you
House.
can't get any, fried chicken or anything like that late, right? French fries or something.
I think the
outside
key would be,
McDonald's.
you want to also get a good idea of for example, Saluta's Kitchen closes at 10:30, making sure it starts at a time where the only options left are Waffle House and Bar None, for
Right.
example. And I'm just using 5 Points as an example. I just think that there's a lot of opportunity here for us to leverage what we've already done and help these entertainment districts with fulfilling a need. It doesn't mean that we need to be the ones managing it, but we do have the brand of Food Truck Fridays. So it'd be cool to try something, at nighttime, even if they're the ones that are leading it. Does that make sense?
Like somebody be leaving an all-night prayer shut.
Yeah, they may be praying all night.
Prayer shut in and they want to get some food on the way
We're
out.
not gonna do all-night prayer service. The other side of, and I appreciate you saying that, because that could be a prayer vigil for some part of our faith community. You're absolutely right. But when it comes to an all-night, with the ability for folk to gyrate around that food truck,
Not gyrate.
food trucks, that poses a real concern for me. I'm not gonna eat out at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock. I'm not gonna do that. I mean, if anything, I'm gonna be in bed. The other side of that is, it gives us an opportunity to creatively think through what we could possibly do with an all-night food, with a food truck at night.
We'll take time to coordinate with the hospitality districts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would also be great, I think, Councilman Bailey raises a good, let's take a look at Austin and some comparable cities and see what they do. I doubt that now that they're established, I doubt that the city itself is that involved, but, would be great to see how they have sustained some of it, because it's 20 trucks in a row at night till 3 a.m. I mean, New York is the same. I think it's something worth exploring. And there's no rush on it, but I thought it was a great idea if it's already happening, which it is, with 1 or 2 trucks there in 5 Points. So might as well take a look and see if we can provide other people.
The largest piece of property that we have in the city is Page Ellington. Is that right, Henry? Available open property. Page Ellington would be that. So if you look at Page Ellington, hypothetically, you gotta look at lighting, you gotta look at security. You could very well do something with that. But right now, there's not anything in the Vista nor Five Points that would have that kind of opportunity to bring in one or two food trucks for, y'all leaving?
No, we're not done yet. We just getting started. I'm joking around.
No, y'all can sit.
Weird, I thought I had said something I shouldn't have said. Y'all be ready to go?
It's hot behind that podium. There's a heater going. It's hot behind that podium.
I just think, as Missy has indicated, I think there needs to be some more conversation in reference to time, in reference to CPD, in reference to location. What's the best possible location? We do it during the day, and that works out pretty good, pretty well. But when you get to night, there's an old song that came out some years ago, and it was called "The Freaks Come Out at Night."
You wanna sing it for us?
No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna even attempt to do that.
The only limitation when it comes to parks is we normally close at 9:00.
Yeah.
Well, the freaks come out at night. Say what you will or may.
Rev,
We need that conversation. We need that kind of conversation. And I think we would be open to that, Madam
Yeah.
Chair.
I think so.
And I think that's what you're indicating.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I had a couple of other items I just wanted to talk about. One, under committee discussion. So I know that you all have probably seen on the agenda that, Councilman Brennan is making a motion to create an ad hoc committee of this larger committee, to take a look at some of the homeless, initiatives that we've been working on. This will allow Kamisha and her team to have more of a direct line of communication and in time solely dedicated to that topic. And would like for all three of us to participate to the extent that we can on that ad hoc committee. So that'll be happening today. He'll be making that motion at the end of the council meeting. So I wanted to raise that. Any questions there? I know he may have talked to you both about it.
No questions for me.
Okay. And then I wanted to, so Rev, I know a couple of years ago we did Diabetes Month.
That's correct.
You know, last year I did the Columbia, Black Maternal Health Week. I'd like to, at the beginning of the year, map out what health initiatives you'd like to do for year 2025. So if we want to start thinking about that and start kind of mapping out 2 to 3 things that we want to do, that will be good and give staff enough time to start planning for those months or weeks or whatever we decide.
All right.
And then ACM Shealy, I think it would be helpful to hear from you all, given the new presidential administration, kind of what our environmental priorities and strategies are going to be, as it maybe relates to PFAS. It doesn't have to, but in terms of some of the grants and things that we're looking to go for. I also think that will be helpful. We can invite the Citizens Advisory Council to listen in too, because I know they have some policy ideas that they want to start thinking about.
Absolutely.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yeah, those are my things, yeah.
Could I just ask you something I heard at our last meeting with the lobbyists? Was talking to one or two of them. Is PFAS an issue we gonna tackle in 25, or is that something we gonna put on the back burner?
So Reverend McDowell, the rule as it stands right now, as adopted by EPA, requires action within 3 to 5 years from 2024. And so right now, we're doing evaluations of treatment technologies to find the best available technology for us that will not only remove perfluorinated compounds, but also provide other benefits for our drinking water.
So not until 3 years?
3 to 5
3 to 5.
for implementation of those strategies. Now, what Dr. Bustles is talking about is, you know, with the new administration, there's the potential, there's some litigation. Of course, we're involved in litigation to help folks that are responsible, to have folks that are responsible help us pay for whatever cost there may be. But there's also some litigation about the validity of the regulatory process that EPA followed. And so we'll provide an update on that. You could see a relaxation of those requirements or an extension.
PFAS regulation.
Or an extension of the time frame. Those are possibilities right now that we're tracking very closely. So we'll put together that in the form of a presentation and also talk about other environmental initiatives. And we've got a lot of neat things going on that are also dependent upon some grant funding that we hope remains, but that could potentially be in jeopardy, so.
Well, that would be helpful, Clint.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It'd be real helpful because there's litigational issues out there with PFAS. And we want to make sure that if that's something we need to hone in on, or if it's something we need to put on the back burner for 2 or 3 years.
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right, that's what I thought.
Part of our study too, I'm sorry, is helping to define the cost. You know, what does this look like for us as a drinking water provider? We anticipate at some point in the future, there may be regulations on wastewater discharge and solids disposal. Understanding those costs, and that in turn informs our litigation
All right,
to make the polluters pay for those costs.
so okay, good.
So while we're on that topic, Chairperson Bustles, we should look into some others. There's a lot of other people out there who are polluting the water, the air, who also need to be held accountable. Bringing that discussion here, and then possibly legal, cough, could look at pursuing those as well. So time to hold all these wrongdoers accountable for polluting our water, our air, and stuff like that.
No, I agree. I think that'd be great. I'm curious to see if our strategy will change or priorities, we will have to pivot a little bit. And then kind of something else to just, not an immediate action item, but something to, I think, keep in mind is, in some of the state level conversations, of course, with Scout coming and this renewed interest in EV, electric vehicles, a lot of cities have started moving towards a goal of having their fleet be a certain percentage sustainable. So maybe taking a look at exploring what that would look like, how long that would take, how feasible that would be. Especially if we're gonna have one in our own backyard, that would be.
Absolutely.
I know the governor's interested in some of that stuff too.
Yes, ma'am, and that also rolls into availability of EV charging and some opportunities that are out there that we've uncovered, and we can talk about some of the things we've tested. We've tested some vehicles and looked into things like electric garbage trucks and things like that, and there's a reason we haven't implemented that, but we can talk about what some of those challenges are. And as the battery technology evolves, maybe that becomes an opportunity for us.
Yeah, that would be great.
to do that.
And then last but not least, I caught up with Representative Rutherford a couple of days ago, and he mentioned that one of his big priorities are trails. That's really what he wants to get money for this upcoming legislative session, which obviously is great for us, for the capital city. But that being said, it raised, and I know we had a brief work session about this, but if and when we are getting a blue bike replacement, I'd like to get an update on that.
Okay.
Who would be our vendor? Some of the stuff that he wants to do with the trails seems to be moving pretty quickly, but I'd love to, have that option available, especially if the Greenway and Finley Park is slated to be completed end of next year. I just want to keep an eye on, make sure we have a replacement for that,
Sure, okay,
so.
absolutely.
Any other things y'all want to focus on in the upcoming year? I'm sure, we'll have plenty of opportunities to refer, but these are just things that came to mind. All right, well, if there's not anything else, we will adjourn. 30-minute meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, happy holidays.
Thank y'all.